Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another Battle Pass devblog, and it should be no surprise that the top vehicle in this Battle Pass is the M551 76. It is of course the Sheridan with the 76mm. This was found in the files in the last dev server, but never made it onto the dev server. I personally thought it was going to be a winter event vehicle, just because of its weird and wonkiness, but it turns out it's a Battle Pass vehicle, and also the main prize for the next season, which is called Airborne General. It's going to be a rank 4 premium light tank for America, which will be super fun indeed. Let's have a look at the history of this vehicle. The history of the M551 Sheridan light tank started in 1959, when at the request of the US Army, work began on a promising tank to replace the M41 Walker Bulldog and M56 SPG. During the final stages of testing, problems emerged with the 152mm M81 cannon launcher due to an unreasonable amount of recoil and a gun breach prone to cracking. To address these issues with the M551, which had already been put into production, Allison developed a variant with a 105mm howitzer by March of 1967, and then with a 76mm M32 gun, which had been used on the M41 Bulldog. However, none of the prototypes received approval from the Army's leadership. So overall, looking at the three vehicles of this Battle Pass, I'm pretty hyped to be honest. All three of them should be pretty fun to play, and the only problem with the Sheridan is that 76mm, which is going to be a bit of a problem. I've never really enjoyed this 76mm from the Bulldog, especially since they're only really going to give it APDS, and that hugely limits its damage capabilities around the place. 76mm at the BRs or at higher BRs have a real issue when it comes to damage. So they're usually pretty accurate. Their fire rate is okay, and generally, you're able to get the gun on the target pretty well, but the issue is actually post-pen damage. Stuff like the Roycat 76 really struggles from this with its APFSDS. The M41D also really struggles from this, and the M551 will probably struggle from this too, with the idea that you can't really do enough damage after penning something with its high penetration. But it does have a 2-plane stabilizer, it does have good mobility, it does have scouting, and also it does have a 50 cal. So overall, you aren't just limited to using that gun and nothing else as it comes around. It also seems like the Battle Pass itself, being called Airborne General, is probably around the paratrooping idea, which is kind of cool, especially since there's a lot of really interesting profile pics and decorations that you could have a setup around then. Unfortunately, when it comes to this Sheridan though, the BR I feel like is going to be really hard to actually get right on it, and it'll probably move around a few times just because of that gun and also a few other factors. So first of all, the Sheridan's main gun in the game is actually quite decent. The Heat or the ATGM actually packs a hell of a punch when you allow it to. The only issue with the vehicle is the fact that it has a really long reload. This is solved by the 76mm, but you remove that pack a punch. So therefore, it's going to be a situation where you line up on a target, ready to hit it, shoot it, and then don't really do too much. And that's going to catch a lot of people out, meaning that you're going to have to use this more as a passive scout than an active scout. An active scout likes to get into the battle, play aggressive, take some shots, and also scout enemies in hyper-aggressive positions. The M551 is going to have to take more passive roles, basically supporting the team next to them instead of in the front of them on most maps, and the reason for this is it can't really take a shot, apart from its upper glacis, which does sometimes ricochet shots hilariously, but every other part of the vehicle just gets eaten, so that's not going to happen. And also the gun is not good enough to be able to trade effectively against a lot of vehicles. And generally that's fine, there's a lot of very good passive scouting vehicles in the game, or just general passive light tanks, which work really well in many situations. And the Sheridan will be similar. The only issue, as I said, is the BR will probably change because of it. The mobility of the chassis is good. It has a good top speed, 69 kilometers an hour. It has really good acceleration going forwards, and also acceleration going backwards is also very good. So it has all of those factors to make it in and out of battle super quickly. The 50 cal is a massive bonus. I've talked about this before. People really undervalue the usefulness of just a 50 cal. You really feel it when you don't have it. One of the vehicles that have been grinding out a lot over the last few weeks is the M109s, just to try and get them done. And the difference between having a 50 cal and not having a 50 cal is night and day in those vehicles. It's so crazy how much the German M109 really struggles in certain scenarios just because it doesn't have a 50 cal. So the fact that this vehicle has that is really good and really nice to see. I'm hoping that with the vehicle itself, it's able just to have a fun time just like the other Sheridan, and also my favorite vehicle in the game, the tank football Sheridan, which you can fire and fly about the place in really, fun setups, which is absolutely awesome. Also, to have another vehicle, which is the top vehicle for a battle pass, being a ground vehicle, means that a rank 4 premium beckons for America. And the American tree is already very powerful. There's a lot of good stuff in the American tree, and if you haven't played it yet, this could be the opportunity to get into it. It's not going to be the easiest grind in the world with this vehicle. This is, as I said, more of a support vehicle than an aggressive vehicle, but I think overall it'll still be good in many different scenarios. Reminds me kind of the SPZ that they brought in for Germany, but the SPZ you could be a little bit more aggressive with just because of where the turret was actually, or not the turret, the gun was placed compared to the Sheridan. So, for me, I'm happy to see this. You know, it's a vehicle that lends on a lot of ideas that we already have in the game with a unique little addition to it. And that means that it's perfect for an event vehicle. Not something that's going to be overpowered, not something that's going to take the game by storm, and something that's familiar to people, but with a twist. And that is just perfect in that realm. And the Sheridan itself, I'm sure many people will have a lot of fun with. I'm sure many people will enjoy its premium status, especially when grinding out new vehicles. If you haven't got stuff like the T30, for example, or the T29, this one will be able to fit in a bunch of lineups too. The only thing I'm just slightly worried about is the effectiveness of the gun and also the BR because of it. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.